is Lindy. Okay, my mother reached the age of 99. She was stoic, uncomplaining, always sensible and pragmatic. She would not have liked the fact that she had lived so long. At this time, it was hard for me to hold on to an image that is Ilse. Over 99 years, there were several Ilses. I, of course, did not know the Ilse who was an only child of Julius and Hannah Steinberger, born in Ostfeld, Germany, 1911. Her first-hand knowledge of anti-Semitism was when a Gentile friend crossed over the street to avoid her, but later that evening came back under the shadow of dark to apologize and explain. Later in Heidelberg University, where she was studying law, she was forced to leave before finishing her degree. With her parents' permission, she moved to England, where she was not permitted to work and was constantly 1 foot ahead of the authorities. She worked as a pattern maker for various fashion houses. In the mid-1930s, together with her newly widowed mother, Ilse left by boat to South Africa to start a new life. Soon she met Heini Hammerschlag, and they were married and had 2 children. Now, Ilse in South Africa, she loved her Heinchen a lot. Despite the fact that sometimes he disappointed her, she was happy making him happy. She visited the delicatessen store, the bread shop, found the special yogurt. She cooked, or rather Dora cooked, what he liked. Freshly baked brötchen with eggs and bacon on Sunday for breakfast, usually served in bed. His shirts were starched, his clothes were laid out for him, and when he napped, we were all warned to keep quiet. She put on her lipstick when he came home, and she went to his office when needed, and she only played bridge once a week.
Not bad.
Yeah, well, that was all. As a mother, she was ambitious for her children. Stephen became what every Jewish mother wanted, a doctor. I was more marginal. At the tender age of 17, I was taken to Europe and left in Switzerland to become more worldly, more confident, and learn another language. Ilse was never a true South African. She hated the hochos, the heat, and the provincialism. Whilst Heini loved going to the game reserves, Ilse lived for her trips to Europe, where she would walk down Bahnhofstrasse and feel at one with a reliable, capable Swiss. But South Africa was also her life, and she made it her home. She would sit around the pool with her best friend Daisy, sipping iced coffee and watching the kids dive bomb into the pool. She was on the dinner party circuit and particularly loved mixing with the chic Italians. She loved serving them crepe Suzette on her Rosenthal china. The mutties, who were the grandmothers, were over almost every Sunday. Ilse was always dutiful. And in case everybody did not know, she was also a clean fanatic. How can I ever forget Sunday evenings? The carpets were rolled up and every possible piece of furniture was piled upon another piece, thus exposing the maximum amount of floor space in the apartment, and all ready for the poor flat boy who appeared on Mondays at break of dawn, strapped to his knee pads and his brushes to polish floors by hand. He was even instructed to polish the young madam's room while she was still sleeping. And I remember that very well. He was humming around my head. Ilse loved beautiful things, particularly clothes. Her visits to Europe resulted in 1 or 2 couture pieces, which she would wear proudly for 40 years. She loved being seen as the chic expert amongst her friends who sought her advice. But her daughter's schlumpy appearance and wild curly hair did not please her. When Heini died at the early age of 63, Ilse was lost and could no longer bear to stay in the apartment. She moved to a hotel. Many of her friends had immigrated, and Stephen was living in the States. Some years later, he chose to immigrate to Chicago, and Ilse stoically waited to get a green card to join us a year later. A third continent for a 70-year-old woman must have been a challenge. But in fact, in no time she was playing bridge and being an enormous support to myself and the children. She lived with us for a year when I got divorced. She endlessly encouraged me to keep at my real estate sales and not to give up. She babysat a great deal and was deeply involved in the kids' lives. She was always available when I needed her. She read the English newspapers every day in the library, and she loved her current events class. She enjoyed her trips to the Loop with her friends, Ruthie and Frida, Ruthie who's here today, and to listen to classical music concerts. And when Essie was in town, she would have a cup of tea with you, Essie. I have many photos also of her with Maria, who is not going to be here today, celebrating our many celebrations over the years. The last 10 years of Will's life belonged to Stephen and Deborah in San Francisco. I visited her from time to time and we had some tender moments. I would wheel into the Golden Gate Park where she could smell and see the flowers, many of which were South African. She loved being fed chocolate and she never failed to say thank you after a mouthful. I will miss these moments terribly. But I choose to remember my mother as the remarkable woman that she was. Someone who was smart, well-read, a little opinionated, a lot snobby, but who was a mother in the fiercest sense, who stood by the family through thick and thin and rarely complained. The hard decisions were made and I never felt alone. I am my mother's daughter. She's given me her strength. Her practical approach to life's issues is her gift to me. She comes to me in many different ways. When I try on clothes, chic or not, she is there. When I eat an apple, she approves. I think of her when I drive aggressively, she did too. And when I take a walk around this time of the year, I see her picking the lilies of the valley and carefully filling her tiny white Rosenthal vase with them. Her pleases and her thank yous and the dignity which was hers to the end.